Good day, friends. Thank you for visiting with us tonight for the podcast Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches. This live platform discusses a litany of different topics. We talk about addictions, church hurt, but our main focus is, of course, recovery. That's what we're after here. We have an exciting staff. Miss Lolita does the programming. Mr. Tennille does the technical part. And of course, we have about five folks who work with us. Our newest team member is Brother Kenneth Probes from Oklahoma area. Glad to have him with us on the team. But we have a litany of speakers. We've got about 25 thus far, and we do thank God for them. Friends, my name is Prince, licensed counselor, founder of Antioch Youth Center, retired. And again, we're glad to have you here with us for this live broadcast of Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches. I want to thank our viewers and listeners taking part in this podcast. We are on iHeart, Sitter, Amazon Music, Pandoran Review, and also, of course, YouTube. Our YouTube alone count was 99 last week, so the others we haven't counted yet, but we do thank you for that support. And of course, if you have questions or comments, please feel free. That number you can call in on or text on is 1-866-538-3664. You can text that and get right into the program. Or you can go to YouTube and type in Church of God in Macon, Georgia. You see the live banner there. Also, if you want to call for counseling or discussion about the podcast, we have a Wounded Hearts phone number, and that number is 478 283 9093, 478 283 9093. And last but not least, we have an email, Wounded Hearts email, and that email is reach1, REEEEECHONE at AOL.com. Friends, this podcast, we discuss a lot of different ideas, traditions, and mores, and the opinions expressed don't always coincide or connect with the staff people. But we do like to discuss things that are important to bring reconciliation and healings in the Church of God. Some of the discussion can be sensitive and will acquire and elicit listener and viewer discretion. But make no mistake, our main focus here is to support and implement three things: healing, forgiveness, reconciliation within the Church of God. That's our main focus and our genre and our mantra here. Those three things: reconciliation, healing, forgiveness within the Church of God. I want to read a letter from last week. Thank you for the letters. You all are so wonderful in doing that for us. But we were talking about depression last week, and the statistics we mentioned, just to give an overview quickly: Japan, 2021, the stats say 415 suicides, children. Adults, Japan, last year, 20,000 adults committed suicide. And of course, here in America, we've got about 1.9 million children have been diagnosed with depression. And the suicide in 2019 in America was 45,000. Those statistics came from CNN sources and Bloomberg. So, friends, we're just burdened about that from last week. And our letter says the following about that subject. Thank you for listening. I've experienced and have gotten relief from depression by reading the Bible with sincere interest and also reading good books written by Church of God people. Thank you for that letter, and I trust that you will continue on that because the Word of God does have healing. But friends, tonight we have a special guest. Let's give her a hand. I'm so glad she's here tonight. Let's give her a hand.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to ask Sister Lolita to introduce her tonight, if she would please.
We're so privileged to have Shana Craft. She's an artist, a small business woman, a mother, a wife, and a very good friend. Thank you for coming with us today, Shana.
Thanks for having me.
Two people stand before God and they promise one another to love each other as long as they both shall live. Our topic today is betrayal. It happens all too often in our land today. We look forward to something and then it's over. Take a few minutes, Shana, and let us know about your beginning.
Well, my husband and I, we were young when we first got married back in '99. And it started out, we were happy. We loved each other very much, and things went really well. I had a daughter from a previous relationship, and everything was going great. No complaints.
Would you say there were signs along the way that told you something was going differently?
Um, yes. Um, we decided to have a child about 5 years into our marriage, and I I saw signs, but I think I was, um, I didn't want to admit that
Sure,
there
sure.
was something going on. And so in my mind, I think I kind of buried it and hoped that it would go away. And um, I was very sick during my pregnancy with our son. And that's when the first incident, he came home and said, I'm in love with someone else and I'm leaving.
Wow.
Ouch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So that was the first time that happened, and we've been married 23 years now, and I think that it's happened probably about 4 or 5 times um, during that time. So that was the first time.
from that time, where did you find yourself? Did he leave?
The first time he left, and I was shocked. I mean, even though I guess I saw the signs, we were young, and I didn't know what that meant, and I was pregnant, so I was scared. Um, and he left for a few days and came back, and we worked through it the first time. It was hard, but we got through it, and I thought we were past it. And then it happened several more times throughout our marriage. It was the same woman that he kept leaving. Um, and it was usually, maybe a few days or maybe a few weeks, and then he would come back and we would work things out. Until the last time, it was a lot longer.
What was different with the last time than the times before?
Um, I'm not sure what exactly made it different, but he was gone longer. Um, and, it was just as shocking, I think, the last time as the first time it happened. It was my son's 13th birthday at that time. So this was about 5 years ago. And I had been at the store getting things ready for the birthday party, and I came home holding the cake in my hands. And he said, I'm not in love with you anymore, and I'm leaving. And he literally walked out the door.
Wow.
And I just stood there shocked. I thought, he'll be back. I don't know what I was thinking, but I think I told the kids, he's going to be gone for a few hours. He'll be back. Of course, he didn't come back. And he had, they had moved in together, is what happened the last time. And so it was, over the course of a lot of months that he was gone. So I think this one was a lot harder just because he was gone longer.
Did
Wow.
your friends and family try to give you advice?
Oh, yes. I had a good support system. I have good, family and friends, and um, you know, for me personally, especially the last time, I had to rely on God. I was so hurt.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
it was, I mean, of course, emotionally, the rejection was bad, but I mean, it was so painful that I was physically sick the last time. I
Mm,
struggled to function daily.
hmm.
Wow.
And I'm very lucky that I'm able to work from home. So I think that that helped because I had to rely on God to get through, I mean, literally hour by hour every day at the beginning because I I mean, I'm ashamed to admit it now, but I wanted to kill myself because I was so hurt by it that I didn't even see it coming the last time. I was shocked.
You said that you wanted to kill yourself, but you felt no ill toward him.
I mean, I was mad at him
Mhm.
for leaving us, but I loved him, and I, I didn't want him to leave. I liked the life that we had, and I wanted him to come back, and the kids wanted him to come back. But no, I don't think I was necessarily bitter. I was mad, but I wanted to work it out.
That's
Sure.
admirable. That is admirable.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what was the turning point? Okay, how did you allow him back?
Well, it was a long process.
Hmm.
Like I said, I was really struggling day by day to function, to take a shower, to make food for
Hmm.
my kids, to go to
Hmm.
the grocery store. I mean, those
Hmm.
things were unbearable almost. And so
Hmm.
I knew that I had to rely on God to get through. And so, you know, as much as my friends and family wanted to comfort me and they were well intentioned, a lot of times, even talking with them, just I didn't feel any better. There was no relief from the pain. And the
Hmm.
only thing that relieved that was prayer with God. And so,
Hmm.
I mean, sometimes I would go 30 minutes and I would start crying again. And I would have to just go right back into my room. I'm on my knees, I'm praying with God. I'm yelling, I'm screaming sometimes because why is this happening? Why are
Hmm.
you allowing this to happen? Why can't you change him? But over time, I learned that the only relief I got was from God. And
Amen.
so that
Hmm.
that was that was what I did. And so for weeks that went on that I just over and over throughout the day, I'm on my knees praying with God to get me through the day. And so through that, um, he of course helped heal some of that pain and that
Yes,
rejection, but
yes.
then he started to prompt me that I needed to begin to not only pray for him, but I needed to pray for the other woman too. And
Wow.
I think that was kind of the beginning of
Sure,
what
sure.
got us to where I could say, okay, if he ever does come back, what does this look like? That was kind of the beginning.
And if I
So
can just stop for just one moment, please. Just put a comment here. If you've just tuned in, this is Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches. Our podcast meets each Thursday, and we talk about these things that church people do come in contact with. You might feel disenfranchised, forgotten about. Well, not here. We're here for you. Many have been devastated, upended spiritually. We want to support you. We want to let you know you're not by yourself, and we're here to implement those three things: healing, reconciliation, and forgiveness within the church. We thank uh, our speaker tonight, so eloquent and so heartfelt. So tune in for some more we have with her right now. Mr. Lloyd, you have some more questions?
you were able to get to the point through God to pray for the other woman.
Yeah.
And I know that took God.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
um, I had felt God prompting me that I needed to begin praying for her, and I'll admit that it took a little while that before I could do that. I actually remember coming home one time and yelling out loud in my house, like, "Why are you making me do this?" Because it just felt so painful, and it felt like I'm the one who needs help. Why do I have to pray for this person that caused me so much pain? Like, why are you putting me through this? But I trusted God, and I began praying for both of them. And at first I really didn't even know what to pray for. She had been my friend at one time, and it was
Wow. Wow.
so painful. But
This was
Wow.
right?
that over time, I ended up, this would become a daily thing where I had to keep praying for her, both of them. And I felt like that really lifted things, that really helped me get through every day. And I started to feel like I started to feel a real change, um, both in myself, but then later I found out in my husband as well.
Yeah.
Wow. It's
Any
amazing.
questions from our listeners?
Yes, I do. Mr. 313 asks, did the children say anything about him leaving?
Um, well, my son was pretty quiet about it. He was 13 at the time, and I knew that it was hurting him, but he's my tough little boy, and so it was hard for him to voice how he was feeling. My daughter was grown at the time. She didn't live at home, but she was very hurt by it, and he hadn't called her to tell her what was going on, and so she took that very personally, and it took a long time for them to patch that up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have another question from Carrie Ann. She asks, now that your children are older, do they know what happened? And if so, are they in the place of forgiveness?
Good question.
Yes, they were old enough at the time to understand what was going on. Like I said, my daughter was grown, and it hurt her pretty badly, but um, she's fully forgiven him. And like I said, it took a while, but we got through that. And my son, he was a little trooper. He did good.
Wow. Wow.
So when something happens of this magnitude more than one time, it seems like the whole world knows. So how did you deal with the fallout of the world knowing?
Um, I think that was one of the most painful parts for me because um, I had identified so well with being the married woman, and even if people didn't know, but I think a lot of people, my family and friends knew, but even if they didn't know, I felt going in public places like somehow there was a
Yeah.
neon sign over my head that,
Right.
this
Right.
person is
Right.
broken.
Right.
There's something wrong with her. She's not good enough. Her husband loved her, and yet he still left because she was worthless. All those things.
Mm.
And yeah, that was something that only God was able to build me back up and show me that I was worthy of love.
Wow. Well said.
You
Well said.
you mentioned once about being sick and then you were told to pray. Can you elaborate for us what happened?
Um, are you talking about when I prayed for him and he came back? Is that what you're referring to? Or
Well, you can tell that one, then we'll go on to the other one later.
okay. So it had been several months, and I was starting to feel like God was really working on helping me to become more independent and getting back my own identity, even though I still wanted him to come back home and I wanted to be married. But he was really helping me to start being a person again. And I had been praying for both of them. And um, we my husband had called. We talked on the phone, making arrangements about my son, and he had asked if I had talked to anybody else, if I was seeing anyone else. And I had one conversation with someone. My friends had they were trying to help and wanted me to talk to someone new, and I did and hated it. And when he asked me that, I didn't want to lie. I wanted us
Right.
to be
Right.
truthful with each other. So I said yes without really explaining what that was. And in that moment, um, I think he finally felt he was pushing away those feelings. I didn't know it at the time, but he was pushing away the feelings of, that he had left us. And I think in that moment he realized that he was going to lose us. He was going to lose me. And he just began sobbing on the phone. I've never heard him cry like that before. And um, I was so shocked. I didn't mean to hurt him. I wasn't trying to. But after that, I went home and I prayed. And I just got down on my knees in my bedroom. And I just prayed that God would use that moment to change his view, to open up his heart and help him to forgive himself and come home. And while I was praying, I saw the light on my ceiling, and I saw almost like a silhouette of someone leaning over me. And I felt God prompting me that, the enemy is always listening, and he
Oh, yes.
wanted this
Yes.
moment.
Yeah.
He wanted that moment
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be when I gave up. And I
Mm.
didn't. I went home and I prayed. And the next day, my husband called me and he said he was at work and he was thinking. And he said it was just like a switch went off in his mind, that he knew what he wanted. He didn't want that life with her anymore. He wanted to come back home. And I just knew at that moment, I'm like, that had to be a God, because all
Yes.
these
Yes.
months he
Right.
ignored me and he pushed me away, and he wouldn't admit to his feelings. And then to think that God just turned a switch. And that's how he described it. And I knew that that was God at that moment. I knew it was. And after some time, he was able to come back home after that.
Wow.
What?
Amazing.
How would you describe your personal relationship with God before and afterward?
Oh, I was a Christian before, and I felt like I had a good relationship with God, but I felt like God showed me that I didn't know what I was talking about, because he that situation forced me to become close to God, because without him, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
I wanted to die. I literally wanted to kill myself, and I had never thought of thoughts like that before. And I think it showed me how, I was every 20 or 30 minutes leaving work and going and praying because I couldn't get through the day. And if that doesn't show you how much I needed to rely on God, it brought us so close. And I would never have learned how much God loved me and how worthy I was of that love without going through that.
Yes.
So your life, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Just to reiterate, and I think you answered the question, Mr. 313 asked, did you feel like you became closer to God? And I believe you made that clear, that since this incident, you
Yeah.
had a wonderful relationship. That's awesome.
Okay. So in the midst of the pain, there was some good things that came out of it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And the family is whole now.
Yes.
What
Wow.
advice would you give to someone that's going through now the beginning of it? I'm seeing stuff, but I'm not admitting to it.
First, I would say, both to men and women, but especially I think women, because we have a tendency to want to think that we are overreacting or that we're being too emotional. That it's okay to trust your intuition. If your gut says something's wrong, then you need to examine that. And I think too, I always like to just pretend like everything was fine, nothing here is wrong, let's not talk about it. And if we don't talk about it, then maybe it'll just go away. And I think that probably made it worse. And
Mhm.
and I had to wonder, if I would have addressed it sooner, could we have avoided that? I don't know, but I would say trust your gut. If you feel that there's something going on, you need to talk to your spouse and find out what's going on.
Friends, our time is beyond gone. So we have to have her come on again, if you don't mind, Sister Lolita and Sister Shan, if you would please. Friends, this is the podcast Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches, and we're here for you. But I've just got us, she said some real dynamic things tonight. And for example, she talked about killing herself. People that commit suicide are not crazy or just off. They are hurting so bad they
That's
want some
right.
relief. They
That's
really
right.
do. And that's the issue. But we thank God he brought her back. She talked about having a support system. That's what we are here to you. Support system for those who are listening tonight. She talked about how God heals, and he heals physically, but also he heals spiritually and mentally too. He's a psychologist. And I've got about eight others, but we're going beyond our time. But the last thing that she said was very poignant, is that she relied on God.
Yeah.
That situation that caused so much pain, so much discomfort, God able to heal her through that. I'd like to have her back if possible. This is Wounded Hearts, Wounded Churches. And again, we're here for you. People we bring on here, they've been through, and they want to let you know how God brought them through. If you're hurting tonight, he can bring you through too. Thank you for our guests, for our panelists, those staff people. Sister Lita, Sister Neil, thank you again. We'll see you next week. May the Lord bless you.
Amen.